The lined shells stitch is a fun take on the shell stitch. It's basically a shell stitch with an outline of single crochet. Now you can change the colors or not change the colors however you want. What I'm doing is I'm doing the single crochet in one color and the shells in another. And in order to do that, I either have to cut my yarn a whole lot of times. Every time I change colors, I would have to probably cut my yarn just because of the way that works out, working in rows. Or I can use the pulled and dropped loop method, which is what I'm going to do. So this lined shell stitch, it can be worked back and forth. You don't have to do it with the pulled and dropped loop method, but I'm showing you how to do this using the pulled and dropped loop method so that you can make your outline in one color and your shells in the other. Now, the lined shell stitch is worked over a multiple of 8 stitches plus 1. So come up with a multiple of 8 that you want and then add 1 to it. So my multiple of 8 is 24, and then I had to add 1, so I have 25 single crochet here. So this is my first row. That's just basically a base row of single crochet to get started. This is just kind of to start off my swatch, and then I'm going to start with row 2. I'm going to start the actual pattern for the lined shell stitch. And to begin that, all I'm going to do is single crochet across. So I'm going to chain 1 just to get up to the height of a single crochet, and I'm going to single crochet across, which will give me 25 single crochet in my lining color, which in this case is this blue. So here's my single crochet across for row 2. And now what I'm going to do is pull up my loop and place the stitch marker on the loop to hold it. So I'm just pulling the loop a little bit, removing my hook, and putting my stitch marker around the loop so it can't pull through, right? Now I'm starting with my color B, which is my shell color, and I'm using pink. And for that, you want to go ahead and get your slip knot on your hook. So here we go. I have my little slip knot on my hook. Now I'm going to turn my work. Okay. And now for row 3, I'm going to single crochet in the first stitch. Then skip 3 and 7 double crochet in the next stitch, which will make a shell. So I have to skip 1, 2, 3, and then put 7 double crochet in here. And 7. Okay, then I am at my repeat section of this row where I chain 1, skip 7, and 7 double crochet in the next stitch. So I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then place 7 double crochet in the next stitch. 1, 7, and then chain 1 and skip 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put 7 double crochet into the next stitch. 7, and now there are 4 stitches left. And when there are 4 stitches left, you are going to skip 3 of them and just put a single crochet in the very last stitch, okay? Notice I didn't do a chain 1 afterwards. I have my 7th double crochet, and now I'm just skipping 3 and putting a single crochet into the very last stitch. Okay, here we have the end of row 3. You can see how we have our shells made. And now we're going to do 2 rows of the lines, and the lining of course is in this blue. So what we're going to do now for row 4 is we're actually finishing up row 3 by removing our hook from that loop and taking the stitch marker out of the color A loop and placing it onto the color B loop. Okay. And now for row 4, we're going to put our hook back into the color B, or in this case, blue loop, sorry. And for row 4, we begin by chaining one loosely. So I don't want to pull this really tight. I'm going to kind of loosen it up a little bit and just do a chain one. Okay, and now I'm going to single crochet into this very first single crochet I have right here. Whoop. Maybe, there we go. Okay, and now I'm going to single crochet into each of the next 7 double crochet. So let's go ahead and just do that. We have 1 and 7. So now we're going to work a single crochet over the chain 1 space and into the center of the skipped stitches. So there are 7 skipped stitches down here. The center one would be the 4th one. So I'm not going into 1, 2, or 3. I'm going into 4. Number 4 is the center. That gives us 3 stitches on this side and 3 stitches on this side. So 1, 2, 3, there's number 4. I'm going over top of the chain 1 space through stitch number 4 to make my single crochet. All right, and now I'm going to single crochet into each of the next 7 double crochet, and this is where we just kind of repeat across for a bit. Okay, we're back to the next chain 1 space, and I'm going to single crochet over the chain 1 space and into the center skipped stitch. So 1, 2, 3, stitch number 4 is the center, so go into that one, work over the chain 1 space, and make that single crochet. Now single crochet into each of the next 7 double crochet. There's number 7, and now we don't have a chain 1. What we have now is the very last single crochet. So all we're going to do is go ahead and single crochet into the last single crochet, and that is the end of row 4. So let's take a look at that. There you go, there's your end of row 4. Now for row 5, we actually just chain 1 and turn, just like you would normally do. This one's easy, right? Nothing fancy going on with our color changes at this point. So we chain 1, turn, and then we just single crochet into the first stitch and each stitch across. So row 5 is really easy. We just chained 1, turned, and now we're just single crocheting across. There's my last single crochet. And now to finish off row 5, I'm going to remove my hook. I pulled my loop a little longer. I removed my hook. And I'm going to take the stitch marker from my color B and move it back over to my color A. Okay. All right. And now for row 6, I do not turn. I put the color B loop back onto my hook, and then I chain 1 loosely. Okay, I'm going to chain 1 loosely. There we go. Basically what you want is the bottom, see the little point where this loop on the hook pulls through the loop that you just had, to be about even with the top of this row. So that's what I have there. Okay, now we're going to slip stitch into the very first stitch that we have here. Okay, and then we're going to make a double chain 2 and 3 double crochet all in the same stitch. So the double chain 2 is just insert my hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through. There's 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2. And now I have these 2 loops that are coming off of my loop on my hook. I skip this one, I put my hook in here, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on my hook again, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's a double chain 2. Then I need 3 more double crochet in there. That double chain 2 counts kind of as your first double crochet. That was 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that is a half shell. Now we're at our repeat section of our row. We're going to chain 1, skip 7, and 7 double crochet in the next stitch. So I just did my chain 1. Now I'm going to skip 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm going to put 7 double crochet in the next stitch. So I have to do my yarn over and put 7 double crochet into that next stitch. 1, 7. And now we repeat that. We chain 1, and we're going to skip 7 and put 7 double crochet into the next stitch. So I'm going to do my yarn over, and then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's the next stitch. So I'm putting 7 double crochet into that. Seven. Okay, now there's only 8 stitches left. Okay, so I'm just going to chain 1. Just going to chain 1, and then I'm going to skip 7 and put just 4 double crochet into the last stitch. So skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that leaves the very last stitch where I will put 4 double crochet, and those 4 double crochet make a half a shell again. So here you see the end of row 6, which starts with a half shell and ends with a half shell, and then has full shells in between. So our first shell row was all full shells, and then the next shell row is a half shell, then full shells, and then a half shell at the end. And that's actually going to keep repeating throughout this entire pattern. You'll have all full shells, and then half, a bunch of fulls, and then half. Okay? So now we're done with row 6, and actually in order to complete that, we're going to pull the loop up a little higher and just move our stitch marker from color A to color B. Okay. And now for row 7, we turn and put the hook back into our color. Oh, there it is. Looking for the end of my yarn. We put our hook back into the color A yarn. Okay, it's really easy to lose track of all these ends and everything, so make sure you take your time and you have your stitch markers. And now for row 7, we are going to chain 2 loosely. So kind of see how I'm nice and loose here. I haven't pulled that really tight. Chaining 1 and 2. Okay, and so again, you want the loop on your hook where it pulls through the loop below it to be pretty much even with the top of the row you're working into. Now what we're going to do is slip stitch into that first stitch right here, okay, and I just kind of move that little loop away from myself, out of my way. I'm slip stitching in, and then I'm going to chain 1 and single crochet into the first stitch. And now I'm single crocheting into each of the next 3 stitches. 3. Okay, and so now we're going to be very similar to this row here, which was what, row 4. So now here with row 7, we are now going to single crochet over top of the chain 1 space and into the center of these skip stitches. So that would be again number 4. There were 7 skip stitches. We're going to single crochet into the 4th one, working over the chain 1 space. And now single crochet into each of the next 7 double crochets. And again, single crochet over the chain 1 space and into the 4th of these 7 skip stitches. And then single crochet into each of the next 7 double crochet. And one more time, single crochet over that chain 1 space and into the center of these 7 skip stitches. So here we go, stitch number 4. And single crochet into each of the next 4 double crochet. There's the end of row 7. Row 8 is pretty simple. We're just going to chain 1, turn, and single crochet into the first stitch and each stitch across, which makes row 8 pretty much the same thing as row 5. Okay, here's the end of row 8, and what we need to do now is remove the stitch marker. We move the hook from the color A loop, so I pulled that kind of tall and took the hook out, and now I'm going to move my stitch marker from the B loop to the A loop, And now for row 9, I'm putting my hook back into the B loop and I'm turning my work. Okay, so you can turn your work and then put the hook back into the B loop. It's actually kind of a little easier that way. And then I'm just getting my color A loops out of my way here. And I'm going to chain 1 loosely. Again, we're just trying to get this little cross of this stitch here to the height of the next stitch, the next row. And we are going to slip stitch into that next row, then chain 1 and single crochet all into that first stitch, okay? Now we skip 3 and put 7 double crochet into the next stitch. So we're going to skip 1, 2, 3, and then put 7 double crochet into the next stitch. Seven, and now we're going to chain 1. This is the repeat section of this row. We chain 1, skip 7, and 7 double crochet into the next stitch. We keep doing that until there's 4 stitches left. 7, and now there's just 4 stitches left, so we don't do a chain 1, we just single crochet into that very last stitch. Now at the end of row 9, we pull that loop up a little bit, and then we move our stitch marker from color A over to color B. And then for row 10, we do not turn. We put the color A loop back onto the hook. We chain 1 loosely. Okay, that might be a little too loose. There we go. We just want to get it up to the height of this single crochet here. All right, and now we're going to we're going to slip stitch, chain 1 and single crochet into the first stitch of that row. And now we simply single crochet into each of the next 7 double crochet. 7, and now we single crochet over the chain 1 space and into the center of these 7 skipped stitches. And then single crochet into each of the next 7 double crochet. Then again single crochet over the chain 1 space and into the center of these 7 skipped stitches. And then single crochet into each of the next 7 double crochet. And then single crochet into the very last stitch. Okay, so here we have all the way through row 10. And at this point, you can repeat rows 5 to 10 to your desired size, okay? So this was row 5 right here. So we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, there are 2 places that I like to kind of stop for this. If we stop, here's 5, 6, 7. When we stop after row 7, then you can pretty much get a nice flat top. You can just do another row of single crochet across, which is essentially row 8, and you'll have a decently flat top. But if you stop after a repeat of row 10, then you do have these kind of bumps in the middle, right? We have the bumps, and they haven't been evened out by the next row of the shells. So I'm going to show you an evening out row. If you stop after a repeat of row 10, then this next row I'm going to teach you is actually the evening out row to make it so that you can get kind of a flat top instead of a scalloped top. Of course, if you like the scalloped top, go for it. Whatever floats your boat. But I'm just going to teach you a little bonus row here to even out that scallop top if that is what you would like to do. So in this case, I am now done with my pink or color B, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that and remove my little stitch marker and just pull my cut end through the loop and tighten it off so it's just not something I have to deal with right now, right? Now, for my finishing or evening out row, I'm going to turn and double chain 2 into this first stitch. So basically make a single crochet and then insert my hook into this farthest loop here, yarn over, pull through, there we go. All right, so there's my double chain 2 in my first stitch, and now I'm going to half double crochet into each of the next 2, and this is my little repeat section, so half double crochet into each of the next 2, single crochet into each of the next 3, half double crochet into each of the next 2, and then double crochet into the next. And I'm just going to repeat that to the end. So half double crochet in the next 2, single crochet in the next 3, half double crochet in the next 2, double crochet in the next, half double crochet in 2, single crochet in 3, half double crochet in 2, and double crochet into the very last stitch. And there we have our little row, our little bonus row there that flattened out that top. Okay, and so now I'm gonna go ahead and put another row of single crochet in this gray across the top just to kind of line my swatch. But you can see this is our lined shells stitch. So I hope you enjoyed that stitch pattern.